We will answer that question. We will answer that question. I will put that question down so that the president can take on it. Okay. His Excellency will be here. Let me call on him. Yeah. His Excellency, DR.Samuel Sako is here. Let me welcome him to the Federal Republic of Amazonia State House. His Excellency, welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Welcome to the Federal Republic of Amazonia State House. I will leave the president to address the citizens of the Federal Republic of Amazonia. Then I will join him back after he's done with some questions that came from everyone out there. So, Mr. President, you have the floor at the State House, Press House.
Thank you, Dr. Nick. Thank you. Fellow citizens, it's my privilege to address you and address the gentlemen of the press. Wherever you are connected online, I'm happy you are there. You made this appointment possible. I want us to honor those, our heroes, who have gone before us with a moment of silence. May their blood that is shed for our freedom not be in vain. Our youth have conquered the pride of our people. They have made a nonsense of the proud and cold-blooded genocide army commanded by Etudi. I'm talking about Paul Biya Mbimvondo, the oldest tyrant in Africa. Today, more self-defense groups have come under the association of, under the Amazonia Self-Defense Council. That is good news. And more individuals defecting from the colonial army, of the very unprofessional army of Mr. Paul Biya, and some of them opting to join the revolution. To them, I say, congratulations for choosing the right side of history. So now we need funding, more than ever before. We need funding. Yesterday, the interim government, your interim government, was basically catering for a few people who were trying to defend themselves. But today, the quasi-totality of self-defense groups have paid allegiance to our government, and they deserve our full support. That means we have to more than quadruple our support to these great heroes who are putting their lives on the line against a very ferocious and wicked government. But also, on the flip side, there is a lot of criminality going on now in Amazonia, masterminded principally by La République, their genocide machine, which they have put in place to systematically destroy us or give us a name. They want to give us a name in order to justify their atrocities, because they have killed us and they are killing us. And then they want to find justification for doing so. So they have to organize crime in our country in order to give us a certain image that they will use to justify their wicked crimes against humanity that they are committing on our people every day of the week. But be it known, according to Sun Tzu, our youth are victorious soldiers. You know why? Because they won before they got into the war. We won this war before we got into the war. So we are not like this La Republique, very badly trained army that are going to war first, hoping to win. Because they don't know why they are fighting. And if you are in the La Republique army fighting against the people of British Southern Cameroons, at one point you should sit down and ask your conscience, why am I fighting in the first place? We are the victorious people of Amazonia. We know why we are fighting. We know what we are fighting for. I want to talk about some topical issues on social media the past week or weeks. The UNPO, Unrepresented Nations and People Organization, hope I get it right, is a very important NGO that advocates for the unrepresented people within the United Nations system. They are for advocacy. I will not want to make an assessment of their contribution in our movement since we joined them in the days of the SCNC. But I want to applaud the AGC organization for stepping up on time or in time to preserve the membership of the Southern Cameroons Amazonia. I want to encourage this kind of initiative without giving the appearance of division amongst us. Equally, I want to recognize the immense efforts of our interim government of the Federal Republic of Amazonia at the United Nations Commission for Human Rights against our colonial enemy, La Republique. As the president of all Amazonians, I want to say thank you to everybody who made efforts towards these achievements. I want to hereby encourage our activists on one thing, though, that whether you are an activist or a journalist, you are a fighter in this revolution. Let us all, and I have been in that space for a long time, in this revolution, let us all try at all costs, by all means, to report our positive achievements without a spin. Because when we add a spin to our reporting, it will engender strife. It will bring disagreement over non-essentials. I wish to enjoin activists and members of cabinet and non-members of cabinet and Amazonians to always exercise some restraint in addressing whatever they consider to be an error in our revolution. Otherwise, the mistake we seek to correct will cause a bigger problem for us to solve in this struggle. There are some eminent appointments that we have to undertake. We have to undertake very soon. I need to make this known because it doesn't fall within the classified. As I told you, I won't be telling you some things. I will not be talking and telling you our strategies, no. But there are certain things I think you should know. I will bring them here. We are actively receiving proposals to fill positions on Ground Zero and in the diaspora. So I'm saying this because if you have any proposals and you know how to reach the members of cabinet or the Restoration Council or your country representative, begin to make those proposals so that they can reach my desk. But here are some of the appointments that we are going to make. we will need to fill up the Restoration Council because it's not completely filled up. We need some people to be appointed in that body that is actually the highest body in this government because they are the representatives of the people. And the government is answerable to them. So we also, on ground zero, realizing that we are taking control gradually of our territory, we want to appoint governors in all the counties, so that as the colonialists are beginning to escape and they are choosing their abode in foreign countries or nearby countries, we should be having our shadow government in place. So we will have to appoint 13 governors, at least 13, on ground zero. As how we are going to do that, you will hear from us. And that is how it's going to be. I will not tell you more. But our presence, the shadow of our presence must be very much on the ground at this time as we gradually position ourselves to get to Buea. And make no mistake, we are going to Buea. And then the cabinet vacancies that were there, as you might have noticed, they were not, most of our leaders that were abducted have not, their positions are still vacant. They were not filled. So we want to get busy now. We want to get some hands in so that it can help us to do this work and do it quickly. It should be remembered that these are all volunteers. These are volunteer positions. Our government is a volunteer government, open to all Ambazonians, whether you are an independent or whatever be your affiliation, you are qualified to serve in the government of Ambazonia. So, but Federalists and Unionists and Confucianists are excluded because we know what we are doing and we know where we are going. I want to use this opportunity to emphasize that there shall be no elections and no electioneering in the former British Southern Cameroon's Ambazonia. That is the law of our land. So elections and electioneering are therefore banned in our territory. But that doesn't mean that there will not be lawbreakers. There are some lawbreakers that will say they have the bees and the gendarmes by their side, so they don't care. They want to go in and marry the enemy against us. Now, I came here to say that every lawbreaker shall be held accountable before, during, and after the elections. Before, during, and after the elections. So don't think that because you were able to escape and get yourself elected by any way, any means, and so you are now elected, you are free. A lawbreaker is a lawbreaker. Know that the people of Ambazonia, who are shedding their blood, who are being killed every day like dogs, who are being hunted in the forests, who are forced out of their land, will hold you responsible for choosing to be a friend to their murderer, to the one who is bent to kill and annihilate them. You have chosen to be a bedfellow with their enemy who has vowed to kill them. Those that survive shall hold you accountable. That is a promise. So right now, I would like to proceed to answer some questions which you gave. I've not read the questions. I don't want to read them and give you some theoretical answers. So I would like our State House Press Secretary to read out the questions so I can give you spontaneous answers right here. So to know that I am ready for you anytime, anywhere.
Thank you, Mr. President, for that very good speech. Now we will proceed to the questions that we received at the State House, at the State Press House. And question number one came from someone who wants to remain anonymous, but the question is important. The question reads, Mr. President, there are a lot of complaints from Ground Zero about lack of support and resources since the formation of the ASC, the Ambazonia Self-Defense Council. Are you aware of these, and what are you doing to remedy the situation?
Yes, that is going to be the case in the short run, because when we established the ASC, the Ambazonia Self-Defense Council, there were 3 major groups and 1 smaller group that came together to establish the Ambazonia Self-Defense Council. But since after that happened, it galvanized a lot of energy from Ground Zero and many other groups. Now we are counting going towards 10 that have come together. And they have all paid allegiance to support the interim government and to belong to the ASC. That means our responsibility has more than quadrupled. So it also means that our resources have to increase in order to take care of their needs and help them in every way they expect us to help them. So the little handicap we have is that the house has grown, the number has increased, and the resources are either the same or they are still the same. So we are encouraging all those people who were supporting those self-defense groups in disorder to recognize that by bringing them under some kind of oversight under the IG, it's not supposed to be, they are not supposed to relinquish their financial responsibility towards this group. The only difference is that your support should be channeled through this IG that is going to, that is now responsible, so that we should not just be coordinating them, but we should be able to give them the effective support that they need from us. So I enjoin all those commanders and those community leaders and all those organizations that were sourcing funds and resources for these groups to channel them actively now, instead of retiring, resigning, and saying the Ambazonia interim government has taken over so we can go to bed. So it is now for you to make sure that we see that increase, not just in the responsibility side, but also in the funding aspects, so that we will not fail this very great initiative that is happening on Ground Zero.
Thank you very much for that good response, Mr. President. We now go to the next question. This question is coming from Mola Wonjambua from the UK. He says, Mr. President, Mr. Acting President of the Federal Republic of Ambazonia, this is close to 3 months since you took office. What are your achievements, and what have you done to bring all defense groups together? Which of the groups that do not want to collaborate? What can we do to move forward without fighting each other?
Well, I'm not up to 3 months. It's probably about 60 days. So traditionally, governments the first evaluation is within 100 days. But let me try to do an evaluation here. When I came, I made a house that our leader was building, and they met him at the point of building it, and he was abducted. So effectively, I continued the building. That is done inside. I also told us that this is the era of self-defense, and that we will not shy away from the responsibility of defending ourselves or talking about it and promoting self-defense. That is actively happening now as we speak. We are now bold to talk about defending ourselves and helping those who are defending themselves, because we are not stupid. We know that there is no way we can be exercising a right and that amounts to criminality. So that cannot happen. So we will defend ourselves, and let the world hear this. We will do whatever it takes according to the law to defend ourselves and our communities to the fullest. Whatever they want to characterize that to be, that is their business, but it will be dishonest of them. And the only way we can stop us defending ourselves is to stop the aggressor. You cannot tell the persons who are trying to defend themselves to stop doing so that there shall be peace. That is cruel. You have to tell the aggressor to stop aggression, and let us see if we'll be defending ourselves against the non-existent enemy. So that I said, and it is happening. And I also said that I will work by all means to bring the defense groups together. I have done that to an extent. I don't care what politicking is going on in the diaspora. But one reality is on ground zero. Those that are putting their lives on the line, many of them have come together. I can tell you without exaggeration that 90% or more of them have come under the ASC or have endorsed to support the interim government. And that is what has actually happened. We have tried to achieve this since this struggle from the days of SCACUF. It did not happen. But within my 60 days or so in office, it is happening, and it is a reality. You can see from ground zero the kind of cohesion, the kind of coordination that is going on. And I think the fire is under the feet of the enemy right now. But my plea is to those who have decided to stay aloof, refuse to join together. Whatever be your excuses, you are on the wrong side of history. I want to talk to the AGC that is still procrastinating, and the SCYL that is Sukadev that is procrastinating. With all due respect, I want to appeal to you that it is the right thing to do for us to bring our men and women that are defending themselves to work together as a team, instead of us operating separately and providing the climate that can enable some infiltrators to come in our midst, or make coordination very difficult on the ground. And I'm waiting for them, because they indicated that with time we shall see. But I hope that time is now and not in an indefinite future.
Thank you very much for that answer or that response, Mr. President. Okay, we go to the next question coming from Derek Yu of SCBC. He writes, Mr. President, with the influx of our people running across the border into Nigeria, as per the United Nations High Commission for Refugees records, is alarming. What is the interim government doing to ensure some kind of temporary safe settlement is arranged? And in case this is protracted, what's the sustainable plan of taking care of the refugees in the long term?
In the short term, we are only trying to do what we can do within our means. And we are calling on the civil society organizations in Nigeria and in the diaspora to help us. There is no country in the world that is able to take care of all its refugees without help from somewhere. That is why there is a United Nations organization in charge of refugees and a lot of NGOs around the world that are intervening in those situations. We, as a government, we are stretched, to tell you the least, and the number is increasing every day in their hundreds. as the calamities and atrocities multiply on ground zero. And so every day it will become more and more difficult for us as a government to provide all the shelter, all the food, all the needs of the refugees, including healthcare. But we are doing our best within our means. And we are using this opportunity now to appeal to the organizations that's supposed to be to take responsibility within Nigeria and outside, within the United Nations system, to make sure that in the long run, as hundreds become thousands and thousands become millions, it is not going to be on our shoulders, for we don't have that kind of money. We did not come into this struggle to cater for refugees. We came into this struggle for our freedom. And if all our efforts will just be reduced to trying to cater for refugees, it means that we will lose the fight and we will not have solved the problem. So we are going to, as time goes on, we are going to hold these institutions more and more accountable, hold them more and more accountable, and appeal to them to do their work and make sure that if they are taking care of refugees in Afghanistan, if they are taking care of refugees in Palestine, they should take care of refugees in Amazonia. So that is what we are going to do so that we don't lose the focus on freeing our land, because if we can change the equation on the ground, number one, the influx will reduce, the possibility of them coming back will be there. But right now, if we just only focus on taking care of refugees, the atrocities will multiply, the influx will increase, and it will get to a point where we are not even able to do even the little we are doing right now.
Okay. The second part of the same question, the second part of the question of Mr. Derrick Yu of SCBC reads, Mr. Acting President, with constant news of harassment of our refugees coordinators by Nigerian security forces, how is the interim government ensuring this doesn't continue, having the helpless refugees to themselves?
Yes, we have made, about a few days ago, about 2-3 days ago, I was talking to a law firm in Calabar. We have law firms that we engage to help out our leaders who were abducted in Abuja. But I saw that because of distance, we needed to have a law firm in Calabar that would be able to help our refugees, and that will be closer to the refugees who can easily go to ECOM and find out what is going on and help them on the spot. That arrangement is already done, and that is one way we are going to ensure that if people are being harassed, whatever is being done to refugees should be done legally. So we are going to hold them accountable because we have a lawyer on the spot, a law firm on the spot that will be helping them out. So that is already done. It's not something I'm trying to do. It was concluded a few days ago.
Okay, the next question comes from Mr. Fidelis Ambe, who is a member of the press club, and he is an activist. He says, Mr. Acting President, are you aware that the colonial administration is holding meetings with chiefs to go and bring back our people from Nigeria? How safe are they, and what message do you have for the colonial governors?
This, I don't know how people grow up and their brains don't grow up. This is dumb. It is when people run away from the country and they seek refuge somewhere, they are scared for their lives. So it is not just a decision they took lightly. Nobody abandons his cocoa, his coffee, his house, his means of livelihood, and start running and find himself in a foreign country where he begs for everything. Nobody takes that decision lightly. Whatever they are running away from is greater than whatever they are leaving behind. So if that threat is not taken away, and you think that you just have to hire a bus, go there, pack them up like some sardines, and then bring them back and come and offload them in their villages, that is dumb. I don't know what kind of advisors are advising the terrorists of La Republique, because the terror is still there. The forces of law and disorder are still there. Those that are burning their houses are still around. Those that are killing them and maiming them and shooting them on their feet and killing them with impunity are still there. Then you now look for trucks and this to go and carry them. You are bringing them to where? To the slaughter? That will not happen. And let me tell every administrator who is holding such meetings, it is stupid what you are trying to do. It will not work. Nobody can trust you. Even a dog will not trust you when you are holding a cane and you are calling it to come. That is rubbish. It will not work.
Okay, the next question comes from an anonymous. The person doesn't want the name to be mentioned. And the question reads, Mr. President, yesterday we learned of more innocent citizens of Ambazonian heritage, and most especially Bamileke business people in our territory of Ambazonia who were funding our revolution. Some of them were arrested for ransom. Are you aware, Mr. President, who are those being taken hostage, or who are those to be taken hostage or victimized in this revolution? Are these acts carried out by the AGC for money?
Well, before I answer that, let me tell the colonial terrorists from Yaoundé. If you want the people to come back from Nigeria, go and rebuild their houses. Give them their monies that they have lost, incomes that they have lost. Some of them have lost their cocoa for the year. They have lost their means of livelihood, their properties that were burnt. You have to go out, that's where to begin. And release their own neighbors. Some of their neighbors are now in prison. At least do something that would tell them that you are not calling them to send them to jail. That when they come, they even have a house, and that they have something to live on. Start by building those communities and show them that you are ready for a people who you forced out of their homes and burn them down, that you are ready to receive them. Otherwise, you are just the emissary of the devil, to kill, to steal, and to destroy. They will not come back. In fact, they will not even receive you. Just try it, you will see. As for the people who are who are being kidnapped, this is only happening now because the enemy, there is heat against the enemy. This thing has never happened in our territory. So when it starts happening like this, you have to know that the enemy is up to something. Now, we don't kidnap people. We don't kidnap people. If you want to know that we don't kidnap people, there are many people who deserve to have been kidnapped and they have not been kidnapped. If kidnap is a strategy of our people. Many people who are doing terrible things, who have done terrible things against our revolution, they are still roaming around. So when those isolated acts of kidnap happen, you have to find out why and where they are happening. The enemy, as I said, this is how the law operates in La Republique. They first of all arrest you, then they start trying to look for a reason for your arrest, what to charge you for. That's how the La Republique operates. They first arrest you or abduct you, then they start looking for what you can be charged for. In the developed world, they investigate you, and until they get convincing evidence that you should answer for these things. Then you become a person of interest. Then you can now be called in for interrogation. But La Republique just moves at random, arrests people, and then later on they start looking for what to charge them for. That's why they arrested Honorable Ayapol for 8 months. They were still looking for what to charge him for. After 8 months, they did not find it, and then they released him. That's how they operate. So they have accused us as terrorists, and they have struggled for 2 years to justify that we are terrorists. They have not found any. So they have to fabricate evidence, and this is what they are doing. They are kidnapping people, taking their own money from their bank accounts because they have all the money, and giving to their own, and taking it through the back door, and putting it on social media and putting it on their television stations and say, this is what they are doing. All they are trying to do is to characterize us as a bunch of criminals who are only committing crime for living. We don't have a cause. We are not fighting for any reason, anything, and therefore everything they are doing against us, the killing, the burning of our villages and our mothers at home, should be seen as the government responding to acts of terrorism. So they want to find justification for the atrocities and the genocide they are committing right now. That is their modus operandi. It is the government, or so-called government, of the colonial government of Paul Biya in our territory that is orchestrating and organizing those acts of kidnap and ransom. We as a government, it has never been our policy. It will never be our policy. For we know what we are fighting for. We cannot go and abduct an accountant of Pamo to get money. How does it help our revolution? That is not possible. If we want to do anything, we will do anything it takes to stop Pamol from operating. So that will help our revolution. So when they are organizing such stupid acts of criminality, I want to put it on us, it does not make sense. Because we cannot go and kidnap an accountant who is trying to pay his salaries, then we go and kidnap him and take his money. That is crime. That's criminality. We are not a criminal organization. We cannot promote that, and we cannot do that. But one thing we will do is that we will do everything to stop Pamol from operating. We will do everything to cut off the life wire of the terrorist regime in Yaoundé. As far as kidnapping a person does not cause Yaoundé, does not take breath away from Yaoundé, we cannot do it, and it cannot be part of our policies.
Okay, the second part of that question reads, Mr. President, what guarantee do you give to civil servants who are not of any harm to our revolution to have safety from the self-defense groups?
All civil servants who are no threat to our revolution, who are not working for the enemy, who are not colluding with the murderers, who are murdering our children and burning our villages and killing our elderly ones, you deserve to live. Neutrality, I want to advise you, is the key. That if in this situation of life and death, where people have put their lives on the line, and you decide to side with their enemy, come on. How can you side with the enemy who wants to kill me, and you tell me to love you? How can you side with the enemy who is trying to destroy us as a people, and you tell me to spare you? So here is the thing. You are a civil servant. You are there earning some money. Just earn it there. But listen to me. If your so-called employer gives you any assignment that puts you at variance with the revolution, that person doesn't love you. The person wants to kill you. So you have to come to a point where you make a choice. You make a choice, like that principal who was abducted or arrested in Bamenda. And he said, I cannot risk my life. I was going to work in order to provide for my family. I cannot risk my life. If you give me this assignment to go and do this, and the revolution does not want me to do it, I will stop it because I want to be alive and take care of my family. You have to know that in this matter, the collective will of the people is greater than you. The collective will of our people is that we want freedom now. Anything that puts you at variance with that endangers your life. Whether it's your job, whether it is your employer, whether it is your political party, that is the true one that's the real one who wants to kill you. That's the real one who doesn't want you to live. Because as a civil servant, whether you're a teacher, you're a nurse, do your work with neutrality. Don't be an informant. Don't work for the enemy. Don't go around writing lists taking phone numbers in forum and begin to share. And one way or the other, the revolution will know what you are doing. And one day, they will come against you. Not because we have an organized band of people who will look for you, but the person nearest to you who has been hurt by the enemy will transfer that hurt against you. And before we know it, justice shall be done in any manner against you.
Yeah, we have the last but one question here, Mr. President. It comes from Mr. Lucas Su, an activist, a social media activist, and a member of the State House Press Club. He says, Mr. President, how can we bring this AGC and ACT people to order as a father of the house, knowing that no matter how recalcitrant a child is or how stubborn she or he is, you can't throw him or her away?
Yeah. They are just like I came up today and I am doing everything I can to be the father of all. But you know, you can take a horse to the stream, you cannot force it to drink. So the best you can do is to take it to the stream. It doesn't matter how good-willed you are, that's the best you can do. I have stretched my hands and my hands are still stretched. I am saying, the IG is not an elephant that swallows people or different people. There is no such policy. Therefore, we can work together, and I call it collaboration. Collaboration is not a union or a dissolution of separate and individual identities. It is the act of maintaining your identity, and I maintain my own, and we find some common work we can do, especially on the things we agree. I think that we all agree on some things, and that's why I stretch out my hands, and my hands are still stretched. That's all I can do. I will make sure that we keep on talking. Even if we are not yet collaborating, we should keep the lines open. And I hope that one day reason will prevail. The love of country will prevail, and we'll be able to start from somewhere. But time waits for nobody. Things are happening very fast. And this appeal I do not only to the political organizations in the diaspora, but to everyone who has a stake in this struggle, even on ground zero. The time is now for us to work together. My hands are still stretched. Those legitimate self-defense groups on the ground and the commanders on the ground, my hands are still stretched. We need you under the ASC. We may not have all the money right now to take care of you, but that's the best place to be. And I call on all the Ambazonians to help us with the resources to make this happen. And let me say this, anybody who is not working according to the will of the people, because this is the people's revolution, the people have a way to discipline that individual. That's why I'm calling on all the organizations. If the heart of the people have said collaboration, please collaborate. Lest it might get to a place where people will get tired, people will get frustrated that you don't want collaboration. But I know your hearts, and I know the hearts of all those who have put their lives on the line and taken risks. I know your heart. Your heart is that we should get to Buea and with no accidents. Therefore, let us speak another language by our actions, that we indeed want this collaboration, and we indeed want to do anything that we can do to accelerate our arrival in Buea.
Yeah, thank you very much, Mr. President, for those brief and perfect responses. We are going to the last question now. The last question comes from an anonymous individual, doesn't want the name to be mentioned. And he says, Mr. President, we are so happy with the changing reforms you brought to this revolution, especially my trip to Buea. Permit me ask you, how much have you raised so far in the account of my trip to Buea?
Okay. Oh my God, it's good to know. But I wish I knew, if I knew that you would ask that question, I would have brought the director of my trip to Buea because that's her domain. I'm not authorized to tell those figures out. But the country heads were giving some numbers because they had a meeting, I think, yesterday. If you have a country rep, a country head, please contact them and tell them how much we received online, because a good part of the money will not come online. That's what I discovered, because the country heads have their own machinery in place, and they are organizing their launch events, and these are all stretched out in the remaining part of this month and in May. And so I think that that's where the bulk of the money will come. But as for how much has been raised so far online on our website, www.mytriptoboya, I don't have those numbers. Try to contact your country head, because those numbers were given to them by the director at the presidency in charge of My Trip to Boya. The other thing that I decided to keep last is that of the National Day of Fasting and Prayer, which I decreed from my first address to the nation, which is on the 15th day of every month. And then, additional to that, I said for the first time, after the 15th day, which is tomorrow, from the 16th to the 29th, we are going to have 14 days of fasting and prayer. And yours truly will be here every 6 p.m. Amber to give you a short exhortation that will lead us to pray, as we have never done before. The world is a stage, and the things that are happening in the physical are determined in the spiritual realm. And those that take control over the spiritual, they control the physical. And that's why I believe that it's time for us, it's not just to sing and say that the Most High God shall be the watchman of our nation, but to actively dedicate the nation into the hands of God before we activate our next plan of action that will usher us to Boya. We want to have strength and power with God in this struggle. I want to dismantle every spiritual edifice that is working against us as we go around, as we go after that, to dismantle them physically. So I count on your participation. Even if you have not yet fasted for one day, try. You might do a few days, because for those in the Western Hemisphere, prayer will be around midday. And for the rest, it doesn't matter. 6 p.m. Amber, all of us know that time. Let us be in the place of prayer. And our God, who is the watchman of Ambazonia, shall be with us. Shall be with us. So I want to appreciate you very much for listening and for being part of the prayer. From tomorrow, I will, from tomorrow and Monday, I will be live. I will be talking, I'll be teaching you some things and encouraging you to pray. I will give you prayer burden that will cause you to pray more than ever before. So I will share a few things on the scriptures on this same channel at this time. I mean at 6 p.m. Amber. Can you pray with me for 1 hour? So shall it be, and our God will see us through.
Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. As you must have all heard from the acting president of the Federal Republic of Ambazonia, Dr. Sako, Samuel, that was a very, very interesting live session we've had today. And we will not waste your time much. The president has said it all. We will wrap it here from the State House, and then we will see you tomorrow for the prayers, as the president has said. And then we will also join you guys during the week for another edition of the Federal Republic of Ambazonia State House Press. Reporting today, it has been your State House Press Secretary, Dr. Nicholas Santos, as we will now end with the anthem of the Federal Republic of Ambazonia. Hail, hail, hail this land of glory. We the Amazonians pledge the loyalty. Praise the Son, our Savior, who granted us the freedom. Allegiance to the heroes who bought the land with their blood. Glory to glory, we rise and never to fall. Here in a nation flowing with milk and honey. Glory, glory, glory to the Father for making you a nation, a joy forevermore. Amazonia, land of freedom, you shall live plenty meeting our needs. And your children shall be like the star. The Most High God be the watchman of this nation. Amazonia, land of freedom, you shall plenty meeting our. And your children be like the stars above. The Most High God be the watchman of this nation. Okay, bye-bye.